In this video, I'm going to be telling you how to sustain a relationship and create passionate love throughout. So you're watching this if you're in a relationship and the love is starting to decrease, or you're just starting a relationship and you're in the honeymoon phase and you really want to move forward and create a sustainable love. So what's one of the first things you need to think about? Well, I'll tell you this. If your answer to this question isn't what I think it should be, then your relationship is doomed. So this will be very easy. What is your priority in life? What is your priority? Because if your priority isn't your partner, then you'll be doomed. Why? Because there's always going to be an issue in a relationship if they think that something else is more important than them. So for example, you have a really nice relationship for the first 6 months, it's going well. And then, let's say a stereotypical example, the guy has his own business and he's working really hard on it. Okay? And let's say he's focusing on it and he's focusing on his business that's more important than the woman. And this is something that often happens in people that I have to speak to. What happens is that woman feels like, well, I'm not the priority. So she feels bad. So she goes to find something else to do. What happens is they slowly grow apart. Whereas in a relationship, they're like, oh, I'll do whatever you want for you. And in the beginning, you're like, yeah, whatever. They want you to come around, fuck work. I'll do something else. Right? And you're actually going forward and really focusing on one another, but then it just disappears. So you need to seriously ask yourself, what is your priority in life that you have been living before this video? Because you may say, oh, well, they're my priority. But do you live that way? That's the difference. So really think about that. How can I make them my priority? What actions do I have to do in order to make them my priority? And not all the time. You've got to have balance. But if worst comes to worst, they should be the priority. You think about them before you think about all the different work meetings and things like that. And yes, things will go up and down, but it's all about the balance. And they will know if they're the priority in your life. So that's one of the first things. Really, really important. Next, practice gratitude. Gratitude is so important. I say it in so many videos, but people just don't do it. But with this, think about things that you're grateful for your partner. Because what happens is, the things that love us, the things that we love in them in the beginning of the relationship, turns out to be things that we hate later on. It's so weird. So for example, this is a great example that I have by Michael McIntyre. It's like, when you see toothpaste on your girlfriend's or wife's lips, and you're like, oh, that's so sexy to begin with, right? And you're like, oh, wow, come here, right? Then that's what happens, first 6 months in. Next 2 years, you're like, you see it and you're like, oh, you got a little something there, right? Maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, you're like, oh, you are disgusting. You keep it inside your mouth, ugh, right? And what happens is, it just goes downhill. And it's so funny because it's just perspective. We just get so used to things and our mind just switches. And we expect things, right? Let's say they make you a cup of coffee every morning. They do it for a week and they forget one day. You're like, oh, idiots. I forgot my cup of coffee today. And then you're got a grudge and you're annoyed at them. But you don't think about the other 7 times they made it. I mean, it's such an interesting thing that we just forget about. And an example I can give you from my relationship, right? I get up early, okay? So you could look at it in 2 different things. It could be, oh, wow, he worked so hard to get up so early. Or it's like, oh, just go to bed, idiot. Why don't you just lie in? Right? And they're just 2 completely different things, but it's just perspective on how you look at it. And often we take a perspective that everything is good to begin with, and then things start to slide down. Something that's very fascinating is the things that you see in them that you hate are often parts of you that you've rejected. I'll say that for another video, but think about that. That's really, really interesting. Okay, next. Evaluate. You've got to evaluate your relationship each week. Because things that you measure improve. If you don't measure them, they're never going to improve. So, I really like the 5 love languages and the love tank they do. So this is like, how loved do you feel this week on a scale of 1 to 10? You ask the other person. And then this question I've added in, it's really, really important. When did you feel most loved? Because what happens is, they'll say 9 because, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, or 7 because, you didn't do this. But then we forget about the positive things. So when do you feel most loved? And you start to understand what makes you feel most loved, and then what can you do next week to make them feel even more loved? Now, something that was very interesting. It's 5 love languages. I'm like, oh, really, really fascinating. But what I noticed was the things that made my girlfriend feel most loved were different to like what she was said in like the love languages. So she said, top was quality time, and one of the lowest was acts of service. But then the acts of services that I did made her feel most loved. And I was very confused. And I would have never have known this if we didn't do this evaluation. So I said, take the test again. She took it again. It was completely different. And I was like, what? What's going on? Like, this is so confusing. But often they change. And we don't realize this, and we would never think about this unless you actually do the test and you start to understand what's going on. So 5 love languages, I think it's great. It works for some people, it doesn't work for others. There's lots of stuff out there. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So read some of them. That'll help you understand the intricacies in a relationship of men and women, but also understanding how they best receive love. And that's the 5 love languages. How do you make them feel most loved? And you've got to ask them as well, what can I do that will make you feel most loved? When do you feel most loved? Because what happens is we put so much energy into all this other stuff that doesn't really matter. And we can do one thing slightly differently, and that makes them feel incredibly loved. So really focus in on how do they best receive love instead of how I best give love. Because it's very, very, very important. So next, create rituals with one another. This is so important. So what do I mean by rituals? This is something that you guys do every week, whether it's like a quiz night or a date night that you do every other week, or just like these small little practices that build up to really make the relationship yours. And it just makes it so nice to have these sorts of things. Whether it's we always have a date on Sunday night, we always have Sunday lunch together no matter what. We always have breakfast every morning at 7. And just sit down with your partner and say, what rituals do we want? Because if you don't do this, things will just happen, and then life happens, and we just forget about everything. So if you're going to make it sustainable, work out the rituals. What things can you do that will create a sustainable relationship? What things minimum do we expect each week? And that in and of itself is really, really powerful if you do it. So if you're listening to this, chat to your partner, create a list of rituals which you can do. And it's like I can't stress enough how important it is that when watching these videos that you do something with it, or pause the video. Don't watch it the whole way through because you'll forget. Like, pause it, write something down, or write something down that's of interest that you can do in your relationship to make it sustainable. If you watch this video and you have not written anything by the end of the video, there's something wrong with your relationship and you need to do something about it, because there's clearly something if you're clicking on this video. So please do something with it. I don't record these videos just so you can listen. I want you to do something in your life with it. So important. Next, surprise one another. Just surprise them. Sometimes we get so in the flow of life. Surprise them. Do something they would never expect. Do something crazy. Okay, something I love, Moonpig. Moonpig.com. It's got like crazy cool cars. You can do different stuff. Just send them something randomly. And they'll be like, oh, wow. And it's often these really small things you do that mean the most in a relationship. So what can you do that will really surprise them, wow them? I set a reminder on my phone every month. What have I done this month to surprise my girlfriend? I'm like, well, I don't know. If I haven't done anything, then I do something. But set that reminder, otherwise you just forget. Like Siri on your phone, or depending on what you have some sort of reminder system, best thing ever. Externalize your mind. That's a different video, but really important. Just get like a reminder to surprise. Next, learn to unconditionally love. And I say this a lot, and people don't really understand it, but it's, let's say you feel that you're doing over your fair share in the relationship, okay? And that's going to happen. That's the whole point of a relationship. It's never going to be 50-50. Overdo your share. Do 80%. Do even more than anyone could ever ask you, and make them feel so loved. Because if you make them feel loved, they will make you feel loved. But often, let's say someone's sick, someone's ill, or something like that. Take care of them. Do your best. Do it as if it were the last week you had with them. Because often we forget that, time is so precious. Stop wasting time getting annoyed, getting crazy, getting stressed out with one another. And just cherish being able to spend the time that you have. Move away from the trading and really learn to unconditionally love. And the last thing is this focusing on them and how they receive love. And I know I mentioned it previously with the 5 love languages, but it's so important. I want to say it again for sustainable relationships. The reason relationships will fall apart is because someone else may give them something that you're not giving them. The 6 human needs, look it up. Notice what you have to do to fill up all those needs. Because otherwise they'll search elsewhere for those needs to be filled. You've really got to hone down and ask them and be inquisitive and be so interested in how you can make this person be so loved. And then you're going to create that sustainable relationship for the future. With that, I want to say thank you. Ask me any questions that you like, and I'll speak to you next week.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please hit the like button below and leave a comment if you have any questions or just to let me know what you thought of the video. If you want to watch more videos like this, then make sure to subscribe now so you can learn how to live a truly fulfilled life.